All right, so shalom, shalom, everybody. This is your brother Jacob. I wanted to do another video today to continue my segment of finding God. So with the story was initially that it was just an impulse at the beginning. You know, God came into my life and he introduced himself via the idea, the notion of himself within my life. You know, I just had the idea of, in the beginning, God created. You know, and just knowing that someone out there had the power, the ability to do that was enough to enamor me, in addition to what the brothers and our forefathers had done on account of righteousness and for the sake of this same God who created all things. And then, you know, in response of what they did for him, what he did for them, for them in return, you know, blessing them and guaranteeing a lot of different just keeping them in all types of peace and joy and things like that. The relationship between God and the people that gave him their all was enough to sway me, enough to keep me, and enough to cause me to want to go that same direction. In my life, I'm met with a lot of friction going that way, because very few people, rarely if any, actually decide to step foot towards the Father. You know, because here's the thing: a lot of y'all think y'all stepping towards him, but you're walking away from him when you accept information and knowledge that isn't completely who he is. The former knowledge, the adolescent knowledge that you receive, the milk that you receive is only meant to lead you to the meaty portion of the scriptures. And if you're sucking on milk and you stay there and you're not trying to go a little further in the scriptures, then it makes absolutely no sense for you to continue your walk, because your walk is null and void on account of your passion towards your real sincerity towards him. You know, he who truly loves the Father will truly try to incorporate who the Father is in his or her life, and that takes, you know, very, very sure steps in him, not partial steps, not half steps, very, very sure steps in him. Okay, so I'm gonna enjoy doing these videos to explain to y'all how I found him in my life and why I've made the seemingly crazy conclusions in my life. But each and every conclusion that I've made has been strategic, has been sure, has been absolute, and has led me and guided me in all wisdom and truth in the Father. Because that's the key. Truth and wisdom are the guiding keys to finding the Father. See, truth is a type of guide that will teach you that the Father is at a level you will never be able to get to absent from him. Okay? Now, truth will also teach you that the Father is at a level only with him you can get to. Okay? Because we only live because of his breath. We only live because of his power. Okay? Now, if you take his power away, we die. So truth tells me this: in all things, we're only wise because he's wise. Okay? We're only true because he's true. We're only righteous because he's righteous. We're only good because he's good. If he be taken away, there will be no good, no aim with which to reach, no goal with which to ascertain the perfection of all these things. Self-control is only an attribute of God. So if he removes himself, then we all lose control of ourselves. You understand? So the truth is a thing that helps you to see the magnitude of the Father that you're only meant to chase after. Okay? Once that attribute, once you've, when you begin to chase after him, you will find out how infinite that chase is going to be. And so you're infinitely supplied with something that seems to be void, empty void in your life. Like, for example, sin. Sin is an empty void that cannot be filled. Okay? When you want to satisfy all of your worldly tendencies, you will only satisfy them to a degree, and you will always chase after more and more satisfaction, which causes you to do more and more destruction in order to achieve that satisfaction. Okay? But then that void will never be filled, because the world is a finite thing. Okay, so if you try to fill worldly things, you will only be filled to a degree. Have you ever heard of a rich man with all the wealth in the world, but yet he's not happy? Because the riches of this world only fills the void within you to a certain degree, to a finite degree. But then the Father is the only one with the infinite wisdom and truth and knowledge and temperance and understanding and mercy and humility and grace and all of these attributes that belong to him. The Father is the only one that has an infinite supply of these things, so as to fill the void, and you will never know of what a void is, an emptiness is in him, because he's full completely. So this is why we chase after the Father. This is why we make him the helm. And truth allows you to place him where he needs to be, so that you can be placed at where you need to be and ever chase after him and be happy all the days of your life. Do you understand the magnitude of what I've just explained to you? Do you understand the degree of the notion of God that I've explained to you? Okay? Now, placing him in your life like that will always get you focused on him, because attention is something that cannot be divided. You can only have one attention, and that attention deserves or should, must, and ought to go to the Father. Okay? And not to any man, not to anything in this world. Your attention cannot be divided. This is why we cannot serve two masters. We can only serve one master, because he's the one master who gets our full and undivided attention. Okay? When you divide attention, you are unstable. So you stayed on him. You stay focused on the Father. Okay? And this is what led me to begin my search to finding him in my life. Okay? So after having gotten the notion of the Father, now my mind is looking to see how many people are gathering the same understanding within their own hearts. Okay? And as a child, I could see that very few people went chasing after him. Very few people sought to bridle their actions on account of him. Everyone lived freely. Everyone went wherever they wanted to go, did whatever they wanted to do, but they did not stand still so that the Father can move in their life. And because of that, my search, I couldn't connect with people in the world. Okay? Because these people were not trying to connect to the Father. And this is the story of man's life as a whole. People are born and they go their whole life without trying to truly, with all their might and with all their spirit, with all their soul, to connect to the Father. They limit themselves, because the thing is, when you connect to the Father, you only connect with yourself. And again, in harmony, the only person you find when you're searching in a harmonious state is yourself, because you are in all things and all things are in you. And you become one with every single thing around you, and you understand the power of God in every single person. Okay? And this is chasing after the Father. But then when you look in, and when you try to find God in every single person and you can't find him, you become you get to a point to where it boils down to what Christ said. In light, what union hath light with darkness? Okay? Anybody he perceived to have darkness within him, he knew that there was absolutely no way that they can create a union, that they can become one until darkness, because when the light shines and comes on in a room, darkness flees in an instant. Okay? And when you understand how fearful of the light darkness is, then you step away, you walk away from all. You realize that all things that are dark have to run from the light, because the light has absolute power in God. Okay? And when you live in light, darkness hates you. Darkness wants to war against you. It's natural. It has to happen. You don't understand how natural it is for that when a light is flicked in a dark room. It's a natural thing for darkness to flee. So regardless of whether a person knows your background, knows what you're about, when you walk with light on the inside of you, darkness has a friction with you regardless. And they probably don't even understand and know why they're having a friction with you, because you walk in light and they're in darkness. You become the prime example of a lifestyle that they should be living in righteousness. And while they continue in their ways, they look at you and say, man, what is he trying to show me up? I mean, this is the contemplations of the minds of those that dwell in darkness, and they see when they see those who dwell in light, there's a natural, how do I put it? There's a natural spirit that condemns every man on the inside of them when they see a righteousness that they should have done and did not do. It's natural. Okay, so people start to have that friction and those thought processes on the inside of their mind, where they look at righteousness and say, oh man, I done did some type of wrong. Oh man, I missed that. I should have done that. Oh, and then they start to hate the righteous in a sense of saying, oh, they think they're better than me because look at the righteousness they're doing, and they want to flaunt that righteousness in my face. And this is how darkness and light begin to have friction without even having communication one with another. And so finding God led me to see this friction in every single person, and how it's a natural thing for that friction to be the case, until that person develops within their own mind all the lessons that they ought to have learned in their life to keep them from having friction one with another. And where we ought to be walking in love, hate is automatic when someone who is apart from God sees the righteous, and that hatred is automatically developed because they don't like to be shown up in righteousness that they should have done, that they missed, that their mind is not trying to catch. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So finding God only saw, it's almost like looking for a light in a dark place, a needle in a haystack. How can I put finding God in this, just, I guess the needle in a haystack is the best example for me to describe to you just how I gotta plug my phone up so I get a good charge before I head home. But it's natural how looking for God in this absolute darkness, you only see the slightest tremor of light, the slightest array of light ambient in the background that you cannot see, and that you have to use eyes of wisdom and a different type of eye just to depict. Okay? And this, in my childhood, I had to find that light. I had to seek out the Father. I had to understand what He was like, or else I could not, my life would be worthless. Because Without the Father, really explain what type of life that you live. Explain to me a life of meaning without the Father, the one who gave meaning to all things. You won't find it. It doesn't exist. Meaning is in the Father. When you connect with the Father, your true, original essence and being begins to shine forth. And true meaning is established in your life. And I had to have that true meaning. I had to understand, why do I get up and brush my teeth in the morning? I had to understand, why do I move forward in anything that I ever want to do, right? And I had to know that, and the only way to find that is to find the Father for yourself in your life. And I'm just sharing with you my experience, so that at least my experience can help you on your journey, can lead you in a path and in a way of righteousness, so that you can find the Father for yourself. You know, and now here I am, born in a world where darkness seems to be all around and enveloped and showing itself more and more. See, the world from when I was born up to now is a very different place. I'm 34 years old, okay? And when I was born, the world wasn't as blatant as it is these days. The world wasn't as showy in darkness as it is today. If y'all, when y'all look around, tell me if you can tell me if you can see. Evil seems to be getting more and more prominent. It seems to be coming out of the darkness and into the light. Okay? People are doing wrong with ease. They're doing wrong without thought, you know, or with thought. It really doesn't matter. People just simply want to do wrong, and and even though I can't understand it and I can't gather it, just as I can't understand them, they can't understand me, because I want to do good. I look crazy for wanting to do righteousness, right? You look crazy for wanting to follow the Father, wanting to chase after Him, right? The whole world counts you naught. They count you crazy. Listen at this. People that try to put forth effort to do the right thing are wronged way more than people that put forth their effort to do evil things in this world. I guarantee you that's the case. Because you have to be worldly to be treated some type of common in this world, like you fit in. You have to have some type of wrong to fit in this world. You know, but if you take away all wrong and still try to move forward, oh, you're gonna have friction. They're not gonna like you, but then you still gotta stand up and move forward, because now there needs to be a showy example of I choose the Father in this world, just as there is now a showy example of I choose to do bad in this world. You can clearly see wickedness when you're chasing after righteousness in this world. But those who do not seek to do righteously can never understand the wickedness that they themselves do. They'll never understand it. You know, and I see the evils of this world. But then I do still see the array of light that is about to overshadow all the darkness in this world. That's about to shine brighter than any darkness that has ever existed. And then there will be no more darkness anymore, because of the light that is coming right now. The righteousness that will be displayed in the earth. And that's what it's all about. That's why I'm chasing after God, because I see His vision. I see what He wants for us all, you know, and I want that too. I want you to live in righteousness. I want you to understand justice. I want you to understand truth and wisdom. Even though you may not see these things as valuable in your life, I see them very valuable for you. And I want to share with you wisdom. I want to share with you light. I want to share with you truth. You know, give me just a second. I gotta lock this door real quick. You know, the evils of this world, you gotta stay protected from evil people who want to do evil deeds. You know, so it's sad that in this world, it's almost like you gotta be protected even in your own home. You gotta be careful even in your own private space, because intruders will come and they don't care. As long as they feel like they can get ahead and take and steal, they gonna do that. You know, but if you leave them no place to do that, you know, it's sad that the righteous still have to be on guard at all times from the wicked, because the wicked want to do nothing but kill. Okay? And so the righteous look at them. I locked it already. Yeah. No problem. And so the wicked want to sit up here and live their life and intrude in your space when you try your best to be righteousness. Okay? And so now the righteous have friction with the wicked, because the wicked only want to kill, steal, and destroy. But then the wicked have friction with the righteous, because the righteous simply want to live righteously. And this is the nature of when you find God, you see the truth of where we are right now. You see the truth of how we live right now. And it's the saddest thing in the world to me. You know, so ultimately, here's the thing. In my search, it began with friction in the world, then definition of the friction in the world, and then just observing people and watching people and sitting back and seeing what do people desire, what do they want in life, what do they get out of it, you know, how do they endeavor to live their life henceforth. You know, and the thing is, you find out that people are doing nothing but chasing after themselves. They only want to please themselves. They only want to live a life that they're satisfied, and whatever's happening to the next man is no concern to them. And this is life. This is the just of living. You know, where, you know, you have to be called a selfish person on this account. You know, because all you want to do is live for yourself, by yourself, with yourself, even with others in your immediate corner, and your world does not extend far beyond that. But then when you follow after the Father and you chase after the Father, your world extends to a universal level, because the Father is universal. And so you start to see all things and care about all things. Even the wind is a sacred thing to you, because you need it to breathe and live. Water becomes a sacred thing to you because you need it to live. You know, all things that the Father put his hands to become sacred, and it becomes a part of your entire world. And so your world begins to expand and include all things, animals, wind, your brother standing next to you, your sister standing next to you. All things are included in your walk. And so the light shines everywhere you go. And this is finding the Father. This is chasing after the Father. When you extend your world beyond your selfish self, and you go and you extend to the reach of the stars, and you understand the powers of the stars. You know, don't you understand all the elements that we got in the earth come from the stars? You know, and these are the power of God being given to the earth for our nourishment, for our good. And you understand the nature of the powers of God in all things. You know, but the thing is, when you become wicked, and when you live a life of selfishness, you will never extend the reach of your consciousness beyond that point. You're stuck. This is what we call fetters and chains with which people live in. and they choose to live in that. They don't choose to extend their wings and fly beyond the stars. They choose to stay right where they are, selfish, and within their own quarters. That's it. And they don't extend beyond that. They trust only those who are like them and selfish and only want to do things that benefit no one but themselves. And this is the extent of mankind in my search for God. I see selfish man, and that beyond his deeds is nothing but death. And then I see a path of righteousness, where these deeds lead to eternal life. And then the wicked live their life in wickedness and claim all day, all up and down, that they're living their life to the fullest. And then I see the righteousness in this world, who live their life, and their life is extended far beyond the stars, and they live eternally. And they are the ones who truly live their life to the fullest. You got a life that's lived to the fullest up to the day you die, and then it goes no further than that. And then a life that's also lived up to the fullest beyond the day you die, and you live forever. But people don't see that option in front of them. They only choose the option that their eyes can see, which is no further than beyond them selfish selves. Then beyond their selfish selves, that's all they see. And so I couldn't find God in man, even within myself. I couldn't find it as an adolescence, but I had to look far beyond myself and then back, which is crazy because it all turned into a circle. I had to look beyond myself and then turn around and look back within myself. And then when I started to put beyond myself and within myself together as one, I found the Father. You hear me? I found the Father, but I had to get beyond my selfish self. Getting beyond your selfish self requires a lot of work. Don't you understand? Every sin that you overcome is a step beyond your selfish self. That's the purpose of overcoming sin. That's why sin is there and you choose not to do it, because you choose not to gratify your selfish self, your fleshly lower self. You choose not to gratify it. You choose to gratify your spiritual self. When you begin to incorporate wisdom and truth and understanding and knowledge, and the knowledge of God is king. That's almost like number one, really. You know, and when you begin to incorporate that in your understanding, then you grow. The flesh is only meant to operate what the mind thinks, what the mind contemplates, what the mind gathers and puts together. So the flesh is the manifestation of your heart. These are secrets that I've been trying to tell you all. But I'll keep posting my videos. I'm glad to see y'all watching, and I appreciate that. But let's find the Father. You know, I'm trying to get y'all to catch up to where I am right now, because my journey is trying to figure where the place I am right now is I'm studying good and righteousness, and I'm trying to learn how to actually do good, how to do righteousness, how to give, and how to visit the homeless and the prisoner, and be a father to the fatherless, a mother to the motherless. You know, how do I plug myself into the righteous stream of God, which is the heart of God, the love of God? How do I plug myself into that? That's where my journey is right now, and I'm trying to get y'all to catch up to that journey so that we can, you know, walk hand in hand in this thing. But I got to tell y'all the whole story so that y'all can catch up, you know. But it's about righteousness. It's about good. It's about loving. It's about kindness, you know, and it's about the hope of life, because that's the source of the Word of God. It's just simply the hope of life and the abundance thereof. That's the Word of God. You know, when you start to, I want to hope to live eternally, then in order to live eternity, you got to keep the commandments. You got to follow the word of God. And you find out that he truly told you all the commandments for your own good. I'm talking about the former commandments, not the commandments to the backsliding people of Israel, but the commandments from the very beginning. He commanded you these things for your own good. And yet we squander it away in our ignorance and adolescence. But we're not children anymore. We're grown. It's now time for there to be a clear definition between righteousness and wickedness in the earth. That's what time it is. And I plan on being a good example of righteousness. And so should you. You should plan on being a good and clean example of what it means to be right, what it means to be in tune with God. And I gotta say in tune with God, because a lot of people get it mixed up about right, because right becomes a selfish thing with those who are not in tune with God. It's impossible to be selfish and in tune with God at the exact same time, because God is in all things and you love all things. So you have to be in tune with God and understand how he created this construct to be a sustenance, help, and benefit to every single thing, all the way down to animals, insects and whatever. Anything that has life, God gave it, not you. And so you don't have the right to take it. Only give it. You don't have the right to take no one's life because you have not the power to give it. Okay? So your work is only meant to be a help and a relief and a peace and a joy to all those who also have life just like you. And so we're going to find this Father. We're going to find the Most High. Because the thing is, you can clearly see the operation of Satan, because all take up the mind of the enemy. Everybody, when you take up the mind of Antichrist, Satan is prevalent. But then when you take up the mind of Christ, God is prevalent. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach people the mind of Christ so that God can be prevalent and move in the earth. Y'all want him back? I want him back? Then make your mind like Christ. And that's all she wrote. Y'all be blessed, be at peace, and be full of health, because health and joy, these are all things that make life wonderful. Shalom.